I was standing in the checkout line at Home Depot, phone in hand, when my entire world imploded. The notification from our shared cloud storage popped up innocently enough. New photos uploaded from Jessica's iPhone. My wife had been at her company's weekend team-building retreat in the Poconos. I figured she'd snapped some scenic shots of the mountains or maybe a group dinner photo. The first image loaded slowly on the store's spotty Wi-Fi. When it finally resolved, my cart handle became the only thing keeping me upright. My wife of 12 years was in a hotel room I didn't recognize, wearing lingerie I'd never seen, with her face pressed against someone else's chest. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m., roughly 3 hours ago. The automatic upload had betrayed her in the most spectacular way possible. My fingers moved on autopilot, swiping to the next photo. Then the next. Each one worse than the last. The final image showed her asleep in tangled sheets, a man's arm draped across her waist, his watch catching the morning light. A watch I recognized immediately, the distinctive vintage Rolex that belonged to Derek Palmer, her company's VP of operations. "Sir! Sir, are you all right?" The cashier's voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. I mumbled something, abandoned my cart full of supplies for the deck I'd been building, and walked straight out to my truck. My hands were shaking so badly it took 3 attempts to unlock the door. The rational part of my brain, the part that had made me a successful systems analyst, the part that solved problems methodically, kicked into gear. I didn't call her. I didn't send angry texts. Instead, I took screenshots of everything, uploaded them to a separate cloud account she didn't know about, and forwarded them to my personal email. Then I went through our shared account systematically, documenting 2 months' worth of photos I'd somehow missed. There they were, hidden among hundreds of mundane images, a selfie of Jessica in a restaurant bathroom, touching up lipstick that was definitely too bold for a client meeting. A shot of champagne glasses on a hotel nightstand. A blurry photo of 2 hands intertwined across a dinner table. Her wedding ring conspicuously absent. How had I missed this? Because I'd trusted her. Because when she said she was working late, I believed her. Because when she claimed the company was demanding more travel, I supported her career advancement. Because I was home every night with our 2 kids, Emma, age 9, and Tyler, age 7, making dinner, helping with homework, and being the dependable husband and father I'd always prided myself on being. My phone buzzed. Jessica's name lit up the screen with a text. "Heading back now. Should be home by 3. Miss you and the kids." The heart emoji made my stomach turn. I checked my watch. 12:14 p.m. That gave me roughly 3 hours before she walked through our front door in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, probably with her affair partner's scent still on her skin, ready to kiss our children and pretend she'd spent the weekend on trust falls and corporate synergy exercises. 3 hours to decide what kind of man I was going to be. I drove home in a daze, my mind cataloging every late night, every unexplained expense, every time she'd been too tired for intimacy, but somehow energized enough to hit the gym at 5 a.m. The signs had been there. I'd just been too trusting, or too stupid, to see them. Our house in the suburbs looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. The basketball hoop I'd installed last summer. The garden Jessica had stopped tending around the time her promotion opportunities had started. The minivan in the driveway with the stick figure family decal that was now a complete lie. My mother-in-law's car was parked on the street. Right, she'd offered to watch Emma and Tyler while I ran errands. I found them in the backyard, my kids squealing with delight as Linda pushed them on the swing set. "Back already?" Linda called out, waving. "That was quick." I forced a smile that felt like it might crack my face. Forgot my wallet. The lie came easily. Too easily. Was this how it started for Jessica? One small deception leading to another, until the truth became completely optional? Inside, I went straight to my home office and locked the door. My laptop hummed to life, and I began organizing the evidence with the same meticulous attention I applied to debugging code. I created folders, labeled files, noted dates and timestamps. The pattern emerged clearly. The affair had been going on for at least 8 weeks, possibly longer. I pulled up our bank statements. There it was. Charges I'd barely noticed before, now glaring in their obviousness. A hotel in Scranton on a Tuesday night when she'd claimed to be at a conference in Philadelphia. Dinner for 2 at an expensive steakhouse during a supposed client meeting. A purchase from an upscale boutique the same day one of those provocative photos was taken. We had joint accounts. I'd always believed in financial transparency in marriage. Another stupid assumption on my part. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jessica. Can't wait to see everyone. Bring me back anything good? The casual audacity of it ignited something cold and focused in my chest. She thought she was clever. She thought she'd gotten away with it. She had no idea that her phone's automatic backup feature had just handed me a complete dossier of her betrayal. I opened a new browser tab and typed, Divorce Attorneys Bethlehem, PA. Then I paused. No, not yet. I needed to think strategically. I closed the browser tab with the divorce attorney's website and sat back in my desk chair. My hands were steady now, steadier than they'd been in the Home Depot parking lot 2 hours ago. The initial shock had burned through my system like rocket fuel, leaving behind something colder and more useful. Evidence. I needed more of it. Jessica would be home at 3. That gave me 90 minutes to think clearly before the performance began. Her performance, not mine. She'd walk through that door with her yoga mat and her easy smile, probably ask what the kids wanted for dinner, maybe mention how good the instructor was today. She'd done it every Tuesday for 8 weeks. 8 Tuesdays. 8 times she'd kissed me goodbye, driven to Derek Palmer's place, or a hotel, or wherever they met, and then come home smelling like shower gel with her hair still damp. I pulled up our shared calendar on my computer. Jessica maintained it religiously, color-coded by family member. Her entries were in purple. I scrolled back through the weeks, cross-referencing with the bank statement still open in another window. There. September 12th. Late meeting. Grab dinner with kids, in purple text. Bank statement showed a charge at the Riverside Inn, 45 minutes away, for $167.43. Same night Derek Palmer's corporate card, I'd found his name in the company directory, paid for a room there. I'd checked LinkedIn earlier. His profile listed him as VP of Operations, based in the Scranton office, but frequently collaborating with regional teams. Regional teams. Right? September 19th. Drinks with Melissa from work. Melissa existed. I'd met her at the company holiday party last year. But the bank statement showed Jessica's card at a wine bar in Philadelphia at 8:47 p.m., and her location history, I'd logged into our shared Apple account, put her phone at the Courtyard Marriott 3 blocks away from 9:15 p.m. to 11:52 p.m., September 26th. Working late on quarterly reports. Location history, the Hilton Garden Inn off Route 22. I documented each one in a new spreadsheet, noting dates, stated reasons, actual locations, corresponding charges. 12 separate occasions over 8 weeks. The yoga sessions were just the most regular pattern, Tuesdays from 1 to 2:30 p.m., according to her calendar. But there were evening work obligations and 2 weekend team-building retreats I'd never questioned. The Poconos trip this weekend was labeled Q4 Planning Retreat, Leadership Team. I'd packed her bag myself Thursday night while she put the kids to bed. Helped her find her good blazer. Told her I hoped the meetings wouldn't be too boring. My phone buzzed. Jessica again. Just finished, grabbing a green juice on the way home. Want anything? I stared at the message. The casual intimacy of it made something twist in my chest. Not pain exactly, but a kind of bitter recognition. She wasn't even trying hard. The lies were lazy, comfortable, routine. She thought I was that easy to fool. Maybe I had been. I typed back, "I'm good. Drive safe." 3 minutes later, Linda knocked on my office door. "Sweetie, I'm going to head out. Emma and Tyler are watching a movie in the den." I minimized the spreadsheet and turned. "Thanks for watching them, Linda. I really appreciate it." "Of course." She hesitated in the doorway, her purse already over her shoulder. "Is everything okay? You seem, I don't know, tense." For a wild second, I considered telling her. "Your daughter is having an affair. Your daughter has been lying to all of us for 2 months." But Linda was Jessica's mother. Blood loyalty ran deep, and I couldn't predict which way she'd jump. Better to keep her in the dark until I had every piece locked down. "Just work stress," I said, managing a smile. "Big project deadline coming up." She nodded, but her eyes lingered on me with something that might have been concern. "Well, don't work too hard. You look exhausted." After she left, I returned to the spreadsheet. The data was damning, but I needed more. Financial evidence was good, great even, but it was circumstantial. Hotel charges proved she'd been places she shouldn't be, but not what she'd done there. Not definitively. The photos from this weekend were explicit enough. Jessica in Derek Palmer's arms, his mouth on her neck. Jessica laughing in bed, sheets pooled around her waist. But those were from her phone, automatically uploaded to our shared cloud storage. Any halfway competent attorney would argue I'd accessed them illegally, violated her privacy. I needed something ironclad, something she couldn't explain away. The cardiac monitor. The thought dropped into my mind like a stone into still water. Dr. Patel had prescribed it 6 months ago after I'd had some irregular heartbeat episodes. Stress-related, probably, though we'd ruled out anything serious. I wore the small device clipped to my belt during the day, and it transmitted data continuously to the cardiology practice's monitoring system. I logged into the patient portal and navigated to my readings. The interface showed heart rate, blood pressure, activity levels, all time-stamped and graphed. I scrolled back through the data, looking for Tuesdays. October 1st. My heart rate at 1:47 p.m., 118 beats per minute, elevated. At 2:03 p.m., 127. At 2:15 p.m., 131. I cross-referenced with my work calendar. I'd been home that day, taking a half day to handle some maintenance issues with the HVAC system. The repair guy had been scheduled for 2 p.m. but arrived late, except he hadn't arrived late. I checked my email. The confirmation said 3 p.m. and he'd shown up at 3:07 p.m. So what had spiked my heart rate at 147? I pulled up the home security system on my phone. We had cameras at the front door and back door, installed after a string of package thefts in the neighborhood last year. I navigated to October 1st, 1:45 p.m. The timestamp showed Jessica's car pulling into the driveway at 1:43 p.m. She got out, walked to the front door, let herself in. Normal enough, except she was supposed to be at yoga until 2:30. I switched to the interior camera in the hallway. We'd installed it to keep an eye on the cleaning service, positioned to cover the main hallway and staircase. The footage showed Jessica walking past at 1:44 p.m., heading toward the kitchen. Then, at 1:46 p.m., a man entered the frame behind her. Derek Palmer. Same build as in the Poconos photos, same dark hair, same watch glinting on his wrist. My heart rate in the present moment started climbing. I could feel it. That same spike the monitor had recorded. Not exertion, not medical distress. Fear. I'd been upstairs in my office that day, door closed, wearing headphones while debugging code for a client project. The house was supposed to be empty. Jessica was supposed to be at yoga, but she'd brought him here, to our home, while I was 20 feet above them. The camera footage continued. At 2:11 p.m., they walked past again, heading toward the stairs. Jessica was adjusting her shirt. Derek had his hand on her lower back. At 2:23 p.m., they came back down. Jessica's hair was different, pulled up instead of down. They stood in the hallway talking for a moment, too far from the camera's microphone to pick up words. Then he left through the front door. She waited 30 seconds and followed, probably walking him to his car. At 2:31 p.m., she came back inside alone. At 2:35 p.m., she came upstairs and knocked on my office door. I remembered that knock. I'd pulled off my headphones, turned around. She'd been standing there in her yoga pants and tank top, smiling, asking if I wanted anything from the store since she was heading out to grab groceries. I'd said no thanks, told her the code was going well. She'd kissed my forehead and left. The monitor data showed my heart rate dropping back to normal around 2:45 p.m. once the HVAC appointment reminder pinged on my phone, and I'd gotten absorbed in preparing for the repair guy's arrival. I downloaded the security footage and saved it to an encrypted folder on my hard drive. Then I checked the other Tuesdays. September 24th. Jessica's car in the driveway at 1:39 p.m. Derek Palmer entering at 1:41 p.m. Both leaving at 2:27 p.m. September 17th. Same pattern. 1:35 p.m. arrival, 2:19 p.m. departure. September 10th. The first time. Jessica's car at 1:42 p.m. Derek's silver Audi pulling in behind her at 1:44 p.m. They'd been doing this in my house. In my bed, probably. While I worked upstairs, while I trusted her, while I wore a heart monitor that recorded every spike of unconscious anxiety my body registered even when my mind stayed oblivious. The front door opened downstairs. "I'm home," Jessica's voice carried up the stairs, bright and casual. "Kids, I brought smoothies." Emma and Tyler's excited voices responded from the den. Footsteps in the kitchen, the clink of glasses. I saved everything, closed all the windows, and cleared my browser history. Then I stood up, rolled my shoulders back, and headed downstairs. Time to see just how good an actress my wife really was. The cardiologist's office called on Thursday morning. I was in the kitchen, watching Jessica butter her toast, when my phone buzzed. Dr. Brennan's nurse asked if I could come in Friday afternoon instead of my scheduled Monday appointment. Something about my monitor readings they wanted to discuss. "Everything okay?" Jessica asked, glancing up from her phone. "Just the heart thing. They want to move up my appointment." She nodded absently, already back to scrolling. Probably texting Derek about their next Tuesday afternoon session. I'd been wearing the cardiac monitor for 3 weeks now, a small device strapped to my chest, recording every heartbeat. The palpitations had started in January, right around the time Jessica's promotion opportunities began requiring so much extra attention. My doctor thought it might be stress-related, but wanted data. Funny how the body knows things before the mind catches up. Dr. Brennan pulled up my readings on her computer screen, a cascade of jagged lines and numbers that meant nothing to me. "Your heart is physically fine," she said. "No arrhythmias, no structural issues. But there's a pattern I want to show you." She zoomed in on a section of the graph. "Every Tuesday at approximately 2:15 p.m., your heart rate spikes dramatically. We're talking from a resting rate of 65-70 beats per minute up to 140-150. It sustains for anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours, then drops back to normal." I stared at the screen. Tuesday afternoons. When Jessica was supposedly at yoga. When I was supposedly home alone, working in my office. "Is this during exercise?" Dr. Brennan asked. "No, I'm at my desk working." Any idea what might cause this kind of sustained elevation? Anxiety? Stress? Are you watching something upsetting or—" "I'm not sure," I lied. But I knew exactly what was causing it. Because I wasn't alone on Tuesday afternoons. I'd reviewed the security footage dozens of times since discovering Jessica's affair. The cameras I'd installed last summer covered the front door, driveway, and backyard. I'd sold Jessica on the system as protection after a string of package thefts in the neighborhood. The Tuesday pattern was unmistakable once I knew to look for it. 1:45 p.m. Jessica's car pulls into the driveway. 1:47 p.m. Derek Palmer's black Audi parks on the street, 2 houses down. 1:50 p.m. They enter through the front door together, Jessica laughing at something he says. The cameras didn't cover the interior of the house. I didn't need them to. I knew exactly where they went. What I hadn't known, what my conscious mind hadn't registered, was that some part of me had sensed it, felt it. My heart had known someone else was in the house. I started paying attention to my body on the following Tuesday. Jessica left for yoga at 1:30 p.m., kissing my cheek on her way out. I was in my office on the second floor, laptop open, pretending to debug a client's database issue. At 1:46 p.m., I heard the front door open. My heart rate jumped immediately. I felt it, the sudden acceleration, the tightness in my chest. Footsteps on the stairs, 2 sets. Quiet, but not quiet enough. My office was at the front of the house. The primary bedroom was at the back, down the hall. I heard our bedroom door close with a soft click. I sat perfectly still, monitoring my own physical response. Elevated heart rate. Slight tremor in my hands. A cold, crawling sensation across my scalp. This was what the monitor had been recording. This visceral, animal awareness that something was wrong in my territory. That an intruder was present. I pulled up the security camera feed on my phone. Derek's Audi sat 2 houses down, partially obscured by the Johnson's oak tree. For the next 90 minutes, I worked on my laptop while my wife had sex with another man 30 feet away. My heart hammered the entire time. The monitor strapped to my chest dutifully recorded every beat. At 3:15 p.m., I heard the bedroom door open. Hushed voices, laughter. At 3:22 p.m., the front door closed. At 3:24 p.m., Derek's Audi pulled away. At 3:40 p.m., Jessica's car returned to the driveway. She came through the front door in yoga pants and a tank top, hair damp from a quick shower at wherever she'd actually been for the past 20 minutes. "Hey, babe," she called up the stairs. "Good session?" My heart rate was already returning to normal. "Yeah," I called back. "Very productive." Dr. Brennan had mentioned that sustained stress responses like mine could indicate an anxiety disorder or PTSD. She'd offered to refer me to a therapist. I'd declined. There was nothing disordered about my response. My body was correctly identifying a threat. The problem wasn't my heart rate. It was the fact that my wife was bringing her lover into our home while I worked upstairs. That ended now. I'd been strategic about gathering evidence, but I'd also been passive, watching, documenting, waiting for the right moment. The cardiac monitor data changed something. It made the violation physical, measurable, medical. My body had been recording her betrayal even when my mind refused to see it. I had an appointment with an attorney scheduled for Monday. I'd already transferred copies of all evidence to a secure drive stored in my office desk drawer. Bank statements, photos, security footage, time-stamped location data from Jessica's phone backups. And now, cardiac monitor readings showing a clear pattern of physiological distress corresponding exactly to the times my wife committed adultery in our bedroom. I wasn't sure if the heart data would be admissible in divorce proceedings, but it didn't matter. The symbolism was too perfect to ignore. She'd broken my heart, and I had the medical records to prove it. Saturday morning, Jessica announced she needed to run errands. "I'll take the kids to the park," I offered. "Perfect. I should be back by lunch." I knew she wasn't running errands. Derek's wife had taken their kids to visit her parents in New Jersey for the weekend. I'd confirmed this through his Facebook profile, which he'd foolishly left public. Derek was home alone. I loaded Emma and Tyler into my car and drove to the park. We spent an hour on the playground, Then I bought them ice cream. Normal dad things. Creating normal memories before everything changed. When we returned home at 12:30, Jessica was in the kitchen making sandwiches, humming to herself. Good time at the park? Great, I said. Emma went across the monkey bars by herself. That's wonderful, sweetie, Jessica beamed at our daughter. I watched her perform this role, devoted mother, loving wife. She was good at it. She'd been good at it for months while methodically betraying everything it represented. My phone buzzed. A reminder I'd set for myself. Attorney appointment Monday 9 a.m. Sunday evening, after the kids were in bed, Jessica curled up next to me on the couch. I've been thinking, she said. Maybe we should plan a family vacation. The kids would love the beach. Sure, I said. When were you thinking? Maybe July? I should have some flexibility at work by then. Flexibility. Right? Sounds good. We can look at rentals. She rested her head on my shoulder. I could smell her shampoo, the same brand she'd been using for years. Everything about this moment was familiar, domestic, safe. Except I knew what Tuesday would bring. I knew that in 48 hours she'd leave for yoga, and Derek would park his Audi 2 houses down. They'd spend 90 minutes in our bedroom while my heart rate climbed to 150, and my body screamed warnings my mind had been too trusting to hear. But this would be the last time. Because on Monday morning, I'd meet with the attorney. By Monday afternoon, I'd have a strategy. And by the following Tuesday, Jessica's carefully constructed double life would begin its collapse. I kissed the top of her head. I love you, she murmured. My heart rate stayed perfectly, coldly normal. I know, I said. The alarm went off at 6 Monday morning. I silenced it before the second beep, my hand already reaching for my phone out of habit. Jessica stirred beside me, her arm draped across my chest like every other morning for the past 12 years. Coffee? She mumbled into her pillow. I'll start it. I slipped out of bed and went through the motions. Ground the beans. Filled the reservoir. Press start. The machine gurgled to life while I stood at the kitchen window watching the sun break over the Johnson's roof across the street. My heart rate, according to the monitor app on my phone, held steady at 68 beats per minute. Funny how calm I felt. Emma appeared first, already dressed in her school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder. Dad, can you sign my permission slip? The aquarium field trip is Friday. Leave it on the counter. I'll sign it after breakfast. Tyler came down next, still in his pajamas, dragging his blanket. Do we have the good cereal or the healthy stuff? The healthy stuff. Ugh. Jessica emerged 20 minutes later, hair still damp from the shower, wearing the navy pantsuit she'd bought last month. The one I'd never seen charged to our credit card because she'd used a different card. One I didn't know about. You're up early, she said, kissing my cheek. Her perfume, the expensive one she saved for workdays, made my stomach clench. Couldn't sleep. Still having those weird dreams? She poured coffee into her travel mug, added cream. Maybe you should mention it to Dr. Brennan. Maybe. She checked her phone, scrolled through messages. I've got back-to-back meetings today. Probably won't be home until 6:30, 7 at the latest. Okay. Can you pick up Emma from soccer practice? Already on my calendar. She smiled at me, the same smile I'd fallen in love with in college, the same smile she'd given me when I proposed. When Emma was born. When we closed on this house. You're the best, you know that? I watched her gather her things, laptop bag, phone, keys, the travel mug. Watched her kiss both kids goodbye. Watched her pause at the door to blow me a kiss before heading to her car. The minivan backed out of the driveway at 7:42 a.m. My attorney appointment was at 9. Mitchell & Associates occupied the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse downtown, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain, directed me to a conference room with windows overlooking the Lehigh River. James Mitchell entered 5 minutes later. Mid-40s, graying at the temples, carrying a leather portfolio that looked older than my marriage. We'd spoken briefly on the phone Friday afternoon, enough for him to know the basics. "Mr. Warren." He shook my hand, gestured to a chair. "You brought the documentation?" I slid the flash drive across the table. "Everything's organized by date. Bank statements, screenshots, security footage, location data. I've also included a timeline document with detailed notes." He plugged the drive into his laptop, pulled up the files. His expression remained neutral as he clicked through folders, but I caught the slight tightening around his eyes when he reached the security camera footage. "This was taken in your home?" "Our bedroom. Every Tuesday for the past 8 weeks that I can verify. Possibly longer." "And she has no idea you're aware?" "None." He leaned back, steepled his fingers. "Pennsylvania is an equitable distribution state, not community property. The court divides assets based on what's fair, not necessarily 50-50. Marital misconduct can be a factor, though it's not weighted as heavily as some people think." "I understand. However," he tapped the screen, "adultery committed in the marital home, documented this thoroughly, with evidence of financial deception, separate accounts, unexplained charges, that changes the calculation, especially combined with the fact that you've been the primary caregiver while she's been, shall we say, otherwise occupied." I'd kept detailed records of that too. Every school pickup, every doctor's appointment, every parent-teacher conference. Jessica had missed Tyler's last 3 soccer games because of work obligations. She'd forgotten Emma's school play rehearsal schedule twice in the past month. "What about custody?" I asked. "With this evidence, and given your documented involvement in the children's daily care versus her absences?" Mitchell closed the laptop. "I'd say you have an excellent case for primary physical custody. We'll push for that from the start." "And the house?" "You'll want to stay in the marital residence. Don't move out no matter what. It can hurt your custody case. As for ownership, given the circumstances and the children's need for stability, we can argue you should retain the house. She'd be entitled to her equity share, but we can structure that as part of the overall settlement." He walked me through the process. Filing the complaint, serving papers, temporary orders for support and custody, discovery, mediation, trial if necessary, though most cases settled before that. "One more thing," Mitchell said. "Her employer should be made aware of the situation, particularly if this Derek Palmer holds a supervisory position over your wife. Many companies have policies against workplace relationships, especially those involving power imbalances. He's VP of Operations. She reports to the department he oversees. Then yes, HR should definitely be notified. Not out of spite, you understand, but because it's relevant to any claims she might make about her income and career trajectory. If she's received favorable treatment due to the relationship, that affects support calculations." I hadn't thought of that angle. We scheduled a follow-up for Wednesday to review the filed complaint. Mitchell would have the papers ready for service by Thursday. I could have them served at her office or at home, my choice. "Most people prefer workplace service," he said. "It's cleaner. Less chance of a scene in front of the children." "I'll think about it." I left his office at 10:47 a.m., 3 hours before I needed to pick up Emma from school. The sky had clouded over, threatening rain. I sat in my car in the parking garage, hands on the steering wheel, and pulled up the cardiac monitor app. My heart rate during the entire meeting, 72 beats per minute. Steady. Calm. Controlled. Tomorrow was Tuesday. I spent the afternoon working, or pretending to. My home office overlooked the backyard where the kids' swing set stood rusting slightly at the joints. I'd been meaning to repaint it. Add that to the list of things that didn't matter anymore, At 2 p.m., I opened the security camera app on my phone. The bedroom camera showed an empty room, perfectly made bed. Jessica had insisted on making it this morning, fluffing the decorative pillows we never used. Afternoon light slanted through the blinds I'd adjusted to the exact angle that had captured everything the previous 8 Tuesdays. 2:05 p.m., nothing. 2:10 p.m., still empty. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Meeting running late. Might not make it home by 7. Order pizza for the kids? I stared at the message, looked back at the camera feed. 2:15 p.m. The bedroom door opened. Jessica entered first, laughing at something over her shoulder. Derek followed, already loosening his tie. The vintage Rolex caught the light as he reached for her. I watched for 30 seconds. Long enough to confirm. Long enough to add to the documentation. Then I switched off the feed and checked my heart rate. 65 beats per minute. Last Tuesday, at this exact moment, it had spiked to 112. My body registering what my conscious mind refused to acknowledge, that I wasn't alone in my house. That something was happening 2 floors below me while I sat at this desk, working, trusting, oblivious. Not anymore. I opened my email and composed a message to Mitchell. Serve the papers at her workplace. Thursday afternoon if possible. Then I closed my laptop, picked up my keys, and headed out to get Emma from school. The rain started as I pulled into the parking lot. Parents clustered under the awning, waiting. I recognized most of them. Other soccer moms and dads I'd chatted with dozens of times. People who knew Jessica, who'd probably say how shocked they were when the news got out. Emma ran up, ponytail bouncing, cleats clattering on the pavement. Dad, Coach says I'm starting forward on Saturday. That's great, honey. Can Mom come watch? I helped her into the back seat, buckled her in. We'll see. She missed the last 3 games. I know. Is she mad at me? The question hit harder than it should have. I turned to look at my daughter, her face so much like Jessica's, eyes wide and worried. No, baby, she's not mad at you. She's just been busy with work. Too busy for my games? I didn't have an answer for that. Not one a 9-year-old would understand. Let's go get Tyler, I said instead. Then we'll get pizza. Mom said pizza? Yeah, she's working late. Emma nodded, already pulling out her tablet. She's always working late now. I caught her eyes in the rearview mirror. Not for much longer. The conference room at Jessica's office was on the 4th floor, all glass walls and motivational posters. I'd been there once for a company holiday party 3 years ago. Back when I still thought her late nights were about dedication to her career. I wasn't going to be there for the serving. Mitchell had advised against it. Let the process server handle it professionally. Your presence could be construed as intimidation or harassment. But I needed to see the building one more time. Needed to stand in the parking lot and watch the windows. Some part of me required that small piece of witness to the moment when her carefully constructed lie collapsed. Thursday morning. I'd dropped Emma and Tyler at school, kissed their foreheads, promised pizza for dinner. Normal dad things. Then I'd driven to the industrial park where Jessica's company occupied 2 floors of a steel and glass monument to corporate efficiency. The process server was a woman named Andrea Cole. Mid-40s, gray suit, the kind of face that had seen every human reaction possible and remained professionally unmoved by all of them. We'd met briefly at Mitchell's office yesterday. She carried the papers in a leather portfolio, unremarkable, the kind of thing that could hold sales reports or quarterly projections. I sat in my car 3 rows back from the entrance. 10:47 a.m. Jessica's Accord was in her usual spot, the one with the small dent in the rear bumper from when Tyler's baseball bat had rolled out of the garage. I'd been meaning to get that fixed for months. My phone buzzed. Andrea. Entering building now. My heart rate kicked up. I glanced at my watch, the regular one, not the cardiac monitor which I'd left at home. Dr. Brennan had cleared me to stop wearing it constantly now that we'd identified the Tuesday pattern. Stress-induced tachycardia, he'd written in his notes. Recommend patient address environmental stressors. I'd addressed them, all right. 10:52 a.m. The building's glass facade reflected clouds, made it impossible to see inside. Somewhere up there, Andrea was asking reception for Jessica Holloway, explaining she had documents requiring a signature. Professional, routine. Nothing alarming. Jessica would come down from her desk. Maybe she'd be annoyed at the interruption. Maybe curious. She'd signed for the envelope, probably assuming it was something work-related, or maybe a delivery I'd sent to her office. Then she'd open it. My phone rang. Mitchell. Just confirming. The server is on site? She went in 5 minutes ago. Good. I filed the emergency custody motion with the court. Given the evidence of the affair conducted in the marital home while the children could have been present, we've got strong grounds. Hearing is scheduled for Monday at 2 p.m. Monday. 4 days away. I'd already arranged for Linda to take Emma and Tyler that afternoon, told them Grandma wanted to take them to the Science Museum in Philadelphia. They'd been excited. Tyler had talked about the dinosaur exhibit for 20 minutes straight. What do I need to do between now and then? I asked. Document everything. If she contacts you, keep records. If she tries to remove assets or the children from the home, call me immediately. Don't engage in arguments. Don't discuss the case. Be civil but distant. She doesn't know I'm filing for emergency custody. The papers inform her of the divorce filing and asset freeze. The custody motion is separate. She'll be notified by the court tomorrow. I wanted to give us a day to ensure she doesn't try to preemptively take the kids. Smart. Jessica was calculating, but she'd be off balance today. Shocked, maybe scared. People made mistakes when they were scared. One more thing, Mitchell said. Derek Palmer. Have you decided about notifying his employer? I'd thought about this. The company had a fraternization policy. I'd looked it up on their website, buried in the employee handbook they'd posted in their careers section. Relationships between supervisors and subordinates had to be disclosed to HR. Derek was VP of Operations. Jessica reported to a director who reported to him. Clear violation. Not yet. I want to see how she plays this first. Understood. But remember, leverage unused is leverage wasted. If she fights dirty, don't hesitate to respond in kind. We hung up. 11:03 a.m. My phone buzzed again. Andrea. Papers served. Subject appeared shocked. Left her in building lobby. That was it. Done. Somewhere above me, Jessica was holding those papers, reading Mitchell's carefully worded petition for divorce. Reading about irreconcilable differences and equitable distribution of marital assets. Reading about adultery as grounds in Pennsylvania, though we'd filed no fault to keep things simpler. She wouldn't see the adultery evidence yet. That was being held for the custody hearing, for depositions, for the moment when it would have maximum impact. I started my car. No point staying here. I'd seen what I needed to see. The building where she'd built her other life, the parking lot where Derek probably pulled in every morning, the entrance she'd walked through while texting me about meetings and deadlines and how much she missed me. My phone rang before I'd pulled out of the spot. Jessica. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again immediately, then again. On the fourth call, I answered. Yeah? What the hell is this? Her voice was shaking. Not crying, angry. I just got served with divorce papers at my office. At my office, in front of everyone. You got served with legal documents. Where you were served isn't really my concern. Your concern? Are you serious right now? We need to talk about this. You can't just, this is insane. What are you thinking? I kept my voice level. Mitchell's advice, calm, factual, brief. I'm thinking our marriage is over. The papers explain everything. Over? Just like that? You don't even want to talk about it? 12 years and you're just… What is this about? Is there someone else? The audacity almost made me laugh. Almost. No, Jessica, there's no one else. Not for me. Silence. Just for a second. Then, what's that supposed to mean? It means I'll be civil for the kids' sake, but we don't have anything to discuss. Get a lawyer. Work with them. The kids? Oh my God, you're not trying to take my kids. Our kids will be fine. But yeah, I'm seeking primary custody. On what grounds? You can't just… I'm their mother. You work from home. You think that means… Like I said, get a lawyer. I'm not discussing this with you. We live in the same house. You can't just not discuss it. Come home right now. We need to talk about this like adults. I pulled out of the parking spot, phone on speaker. I'm not coming home until this evening. When I do, we can be civil, or you can stay somewhere else. Your choice. Stay somewhere. This is my house too. You can't kick me out of my own house. I'm not kicking you out. I'm saying if you want to scream and argue, do it somewhere else. Around the kids, we're going to be calm and normal. They don't need to see this. See what? See their father destroying their family for no reason? The hypocrisy was breathtaking. I stopped at a red light, gripped the steering wheel. Stay calm. Don't engage. I'll be home at 6. We can tell them together, or I can tell them myself. Up to you. Tell them what? That their dad is having some kind of breakdown? That we're getting divorced? That it's not their fault? That we both love them? The standard speech. There's nothing standard about this. You're acting crazy. Is this about me working late? About the promotion? You've been weird for weeks and I thought… I haven't been weird. I've been paying attention. Another pause. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Less angry, more cautious. Paying attention to what? Goodbye, Jessica. See you at 6. I hung up before she could respond, turned off the ringer. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my heart was hammering. The cardiac monitor would have been screaming. She'd call back, probably a dozen times. Maybe show up wherever she thought I was. But I wasn't going home, and I wasn't going anywhere she'd think to look. Instead, I drove to Emma's school, sat in the parking lot and watched kids on the playground during recess. Spotted her on the swings, ponytail flying, laughing at something her friend Madison was saying. Tyler was across the yard playing kickball, his usual intensity making the game look like a professional sport. They were okay. Right now, in this moment, they were okay. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Please, can we just talk? I don't understand what's happening. Then another. I love you. Whatever this is, we can work through it. Then, call me back. I put the phone face down on the passenger seat. At 2:15 p.m., I was still sitting there when my chest tightened. Not painful, just that familiar squeeze. The anxiety spike that had been happening every Tuesday for 2 months. Except it was Thursday. And Jessica wasn't at yoga. She was probably still at her office, or maybe she'd left early, was driving around looking for me or sitting in our house trying to figure out what I knew. But my body remembered the pattern, remembered the violation it had detected before my conscious mind caught up. I breathed through it, counted to 10. Reminded myself that Derek Palmer wasn't in my house right now, that those Tuesdays were over, that I'd taken back what was mine. The tightness eased. By 3 o'clock, I'd made my decision about Derek Palmer. I drafted an email to the company's HR department, attaching selected photos. Nothing explicit, just the two of them clearly together in situations that violated their fraternization policy. I included dates, times, and a brief explanation that I was the spouse of one of the involved parties and felt the company should be aware of the policy violation. I didn't send it. Not yet. That was ammunition for if she fought dirty, for if she tried to take the kids or hide assets or paint me as the villain. But I had it ready, loaded and waiting. The weekend stretched out like a minefield. Every hour felt like navigating between explosions that hadn't detonated yet. Friday night, Jessica had called 17 times. I'd blocked her number after the fifth voicemail devolved into screaming accusations about how I was destroying our family over nothing. Saturday morning brought a new tactic. She started texting from her mother's phone. "Please just talk to me. The kids need both their parents. Whatever you think happened, you're wrong." I deleted it without responding. Emma and Tyler were with my parents in Allentown for the weekend. I'd told them Mommy and Daddy needed to handle some grown-up business, which Emma had accepted with the sort of quiet concern that made my chest ache. Tyler had just wanted to know if Grandpa would take him fishing. "Absolutely," my father had said, reading the situation immediately. "We'll catch something big." Now it was Saturday afternoon, and I sat in my home office staring at the HR complaint I drafted 3 days ago. The cursor blinked in the subject line. Formal complaint. Policy violation and workplace misconduct. My phone buzzed. James Mitchell. "Just confirming our prep session tomorrow at 2, he said when I answered. "The emergency custody hearing is Monday at 9. Judge Brennan is fair but thorough. She'll want to see everything." "I'll be there." "How are you holding up?" "I'm functional." "That's about all we can ask right now." He paused. "Has Jessica retained counsel yet?" "Not that I know of." "She will, probably by Monday morning." His tone shifted slightly. "Have you given any more thought to the HR complaint?" I looked at the document on my screen. 2 pages, single-spaced, meticulously detailed. Every policy violation documented. Every date cross-referenced with company handbook sections I'd downloaded from Jessica's employee portal. "Still deciding." "It's leverage," James said, "but it's also a grenade. Once you throw it, you can't unthrow it." "I'm aware." After we hung up, I read through the complaint again. Section 4.3 of the Employee Handbook explicitly prohibited romantic relationships between supervisors and direct reports. Derek Palmer, as VP of Operations, had authority over Jessica's entire department. The business trip to the Poconos had been charged to the company card. I had the statement showing the resort booking under Derek's corporate account. Fraud. Misuse of company resources. Sexual harassment, potentially, depending on how the relationship had started. My finger hovered over the send button. Not yet. I closed the laptop and walked downstairs. The house felt wrong without the kids. Too quiet, too still. Every surface seemed to mock me with its normalcy. The family photos on the wall. Jessica's coffee mug still in the sink from Thursday morning, before she'd been served. The calendar on the refrigerator with yoga written in her handwriting every Tuesday at 2 p.m. I'd stopped writing those appointments down 3 weeks ago, after I'd figured out what they really meant. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "This is Derek Palmer." My hand tightened around the phone. "You've got 30 seconds before I hang up." "I know you're angry. 25 seconds. Jessica told me what happened, about the divorce papers." His voice was smooth, practiced, the voice of someone used to controlling conversations. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. 15 seconds. We work together, that's all. Whatever you think you saw." I hung up. The audacity was almost impressive. Almost. 3 minutes later, another call. Same unknown number. I blocked it. Then a text from yet another number. "This is Derek. Please just listen. Jessica is devastated. Your kids need their mother. Don't do something you'll regret." I took a screenshot and forwarded it to James Mitchell with a single line. Harassment from the affair partner. His response came back in under a minute. Document everything. Do not engage. This helps us. I spent the rest of Saturday organizing files. Bank statements in one folder, security camera footage in another, the photos from the cloud storage, time-stamped and dated, Jessica's location data, exported from the app she didn't know I could access, the cardiac monitor readings that Dr. Patel had flagged, showing my pulse spiking to 142 every Tuesday at 2:47 p.m., almost to the minute, week after week. My body had known before my mind caught up. Sunday morning, I drove to James Mitchell's office in downtown Bethlehem. The building was old brick, converted from some industrial warehouse. His practice occupied the third floor, all exposed beams and modern furniture that probably cost more than my car. He had everything laid out on a conference table when I arrived. My documentation on one side, his legal briefs on the other. "Judge Brennan will ask why you're seeking emergency custody," he said, sliding a notepad toward me. "We need to establish that leaving the children with Jessica poses an immediate risk to their welfare. She brought her affair partner into our home while I was there, while our kids were at school." I kept my voice level. "That shows judgment so compromised it's dangerous." "Agreed. We'll also emphasize the deception, the elaborate lies, the manipulation of schedules, the financial irregularities." He tapped a bank statement. "This charge at the Poconos Resort is substantial. That's marital funds used to facilitate adultery. Will that be enough? Combined with everything else?" "Yes." He met my eyes. "But you need to be prepared for her to fight back. She'll claim you're being vindictive, that you're using the kids as weapons, that whatever happened between her and Derek was emotional support during a difficult marriage. Our marriage wasn't difficult until she started screwing her boss. I know, but she'll rewrite history. They always do." He pulled out another document. "This is a motion for exclusive use of the marital home. We'll file it tomorrow along with the custody petition. If granted, she'll have to move out." I stared at the paper. Jessica, forced out of the house she'd violated. The house where she'd brought him into our bedroom, our life, our family. File it. We spent 2 hours going through every possible question the judge might ask. Every angle Jessica's attorney, whoever she hired, might pursue. By the time I left, my head throbbed and my hands shook slightly from too much coffee and too little sleep. Back home, I found 3 more voicemails from unknown numbers. All Derek Palmer, each one more desperate than the last. "You're making a mistake. Jessica loves you. This will destroy your family. I'm willing to transfer departments to make this right. Just call off the lawyers. You have no idea what you're doing. The company won't take kindly to false accusations." That last one was a threat, thinly veiled. I forwarded all 3 to James Mitchell, then opened my laptop. The HR complaint sat in my drafts folder, waiting. Derek Palmer's threats had just made my decision easier. I attached the security camera footage showing him entering my house, the bank statements showing the resort charges, the photos from the cloud storage, cropped to show just enough, his watch, Jessica's face, the hotel room that had been billed to corporate accounts. In the body of the email, I kept it clinical. "I am writing to report serious policy violations by Derek Palmer, VP of Operations, and Jessica Reynolds, Senior Analyst. Mr. Palmer has engaged in a romantic relationship with a direct report in violation of Section 4.3 of the Employee Handbook. This relationship has involved misuse of company resources, including corporate credit cards used for personal travel. Attached documentation supports these claims. I request a formal investigation and appropriate disciplinary action." I CC'd the CEO, the head of HR, and the company's legal counsel. My finger hovered over send for the second time that weekend. Derek had called me 3 times, texted me twice, and threatened me once. He'd made this personal. I hit send. The email whooshed out of my outbox at 6:47 p.m. on Sunday evening. By Monday morning, Derek Palmer's entire world would be on fire. And tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'd be standing in front of Judge Brennan fighting for my kids. I closed the laptop and sat in the darkening office, listening to the house settle around me. 24 hours until the custody hearing. 24 hours until Jessica realized I wasn't bluffing, wasn't backing down, wasn't going to let her rewrite this story into something I could forgive. My phone buzzed one more time, another unknown number. I didn't even look at it. The courtroom smelled like old wood and anxiety. Judge Brennan was a thin woman in her early 60s with steel gray hair and reading glasses that she peered over when she wanted to make a point. She'd been reviewing the emergency custody motion for 10 minutes, while James Mitchell and I sat at one table and Jessica sat at another with an attorney she'd apparently hired over the weekend. A younger guy in an expensive suit who kept whispering reassurances that made her nod mechanically. She hadn't looked at me once since we'd entered the courtroom. "Mr. Warren," Judge Brennan finally said, setting down the papers. "You're seeking primary physical custody of Emma, age 9, and Tyler, age 7, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Reynolds. That's a significant request." "Yes, Your Honor." "Walk me through your reasoning." James stood. "Your Honor, Mr. Warren has been the primary caregiver for the children throughout the marriage. He works from home as a systems analyst, maintains a flexible schedule, and has been responsible for school pickups, medical appointments, extracurricular activities, and day-to-day care. Mrs. Reynolds has been increasingly absent due to what she claimed were work obligations." He slid a folder across to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. "This documentation shows Mr. Warren's involvement versus Mrs. Reynolds' absences over the past 6 months. He attended every parent-teacher conference, every soccer game, every doctor's appointment. Mrs. Reynolds missed the majority of these events." Judge Brennan flipped through the pages. Attendance records, signed permission slips, photos of me at school events, at games, at practices. The visual evidence of a father who'd been present while his wife had been elsewhere. "Mrs. Reynolds," the judge said, "do you dispute these facts?" Jessica's attorney stood. "Your Honor, Mrs. Reynolds has been pursuing career advancement opportunities that required additional time commitments. This doesn't indicate neglect. It indicates a mother working to provide for her family." "Providing for her family," James said quietly, "by conducting an extramarital affair with her supervisor and bringing him into the marital home while Mr. Warren was present and the children could have returned at any time." The courtroom went silent. Jessica's face drained of color. Her attorney's head snapped toward her, clearly hearing this information for the first time. Judge Brennan removed her glasses. "Counselor, that's a serious allegation." "It's a documented fact, Your Honor." James produced another folder. "Security camera footage from the Warren residence shows Mrs. Reynolds entering the home with Derek Palmer, her supervisor, on 8 separate occasions over 2 months. These visits occurred during times Mrs. Reynolds had told her husband she was at yoga classes. The visits lasted between 60 and 90 minutes, during which both parties were in the primary bedroom." He pulled out another document. "Additionally, Mr. Warren has been wearing a cardiac monitor for medical reasons. The data shows his heart rate spiking to dangerous levels every Tuesday afternoon at approximately the same time these visits occurred. A physiological stress response to an unconscious awareness that someone was in his home." Judge Brennan took the folder, reviewed the contents. Her expression remained neutral, but I saw her jaw tighten. "Mrs. Reynolds brought this individual into the family home while your client was present." "Yes, Your Honor." Mr. Warren worked in his home office, unaware that his wife was conducting an affair 2 floors below him. This demonstrates a level of deception and disregard for the family's well-being that we believe makes unsupervised custody inappropriate. Jessica's attorney was whispering urgently with her now. She shook her head, whispered back. He looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. "Your Honor," he finally said, standing, We request a brief recess to confer with our client. Denied. Mrs. Reynolds, do you dispute the affair? Jessica stood slowly. Her voice was barely audible. No, Your Honor. Do you dispute that it occurred in the marital home? A longer pause. No. Do you dispute that you lied to your husband about your whereabouts during these encounters? No. Judge Brennan set down the folder. Mrs. Reynolds, I'm going to be very clear with you. This court's primary concern is the welfare of the children. A parent who conducts an affair is exercising poor judgment. A parent who brings their affair partner into the family home while their spouse is present is exercising dangerous judgment. A parent who constructs elaborate lies and maintains them for months is teaching their children by example that deception is acceptable. She turned to me. Mr. Warren, I'm granting your request for primary physical custody on a temporary basis. Mrs. Reynolds will have supervised visitation every other weekend, 4 hours per visit, at a location to be determined. We'll revisit this arrangement in 90 days. Jessica made a sound. Not quite a sob, more like the air being knocked out of her. Additionally, Judge Brennan continued, I'm granting Mr. Warren exclusive use of the marital residence. Mrs. Reynolds, you have 72 hours to remove your personal belongings. A police escort will be provided if necessary. Your Honor, Jessica's attorney tried. I'm not finished. Mrs. Reynolds, you will have no contact with Mr. Palmer during this custody arrangement. If I find out you violated this order, we'll be back here discussing whether supervised visitation should continue at all. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Jessica's voice cracked. This hearing is adjourned. The clerk will provide the written order by end of business today. The gavel came down. I picked up Emma and Tyler from my parents' house that afternoon. They climbed into the car with the easy energy of kids who'd spent the weekend fishing and eating their grandmother's cooking, unaware that their entire world had shifted. Did you and Mom figure out the grown-up stuff? Emma asked from the back seat. I met her eyes in the rearview mirror. Yeah, sweetie, we did. Are you still married? There was no good way to do this. No perfect script. No, Mom and I are getting divorced. Silence. Then Tyler. Like Madison's parents? Yeah, buddy, like that. But we'll still see Mom? Emma's voice had gone small. Of course. You'll see her every other weekend. And you'll still live with me in our house. Why can't we live with both of you? Because your mother brought another man into our bedroom. Because she lied for months. Because she chose someone else over this family. Sometimes grown-ups can't live together anymore. But we both still love you. That doesn't change. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then, is it because of Mom's work friend? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What work friend? The man who came to the house sometimes. Tyler and I saw him once when we came home early from school. Mom said he was a work friend. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. When was this? I don't know. A while ago? Mom said not to bother you because you were busy working. They'd seen him. My kids had seen Derek Palmer in our house, and Jessica had told them not to tell me. I pulled into a parking lot, put the car in park, and turned around to face them. Listen to me. None of this is your fault. Nothing you did or didn't do caused this. And you should never keep secrets from me, okay? If something feels wrong, you tell me. Emma nodded, tears starting to track down her face. Tyler just stared at his shoes. I love you both, I said. More than anything in the world. And we're going to be okay. I wasn't sure I believed it, but I needed them to. Jessica came for her things on Wednesday afternoon. I'd arranged to have the kids at a friend's house. She arrived with her mother and 2 large suitcases, her face puffy and red. We didn't speak. She moved through the house like a ghost, packing clothes, toiletries, a few books. Linda shot me looks that could have stripped paint, but she kept quiet. When Jessica came downstairs with the last box, She paused in the doorway. "I'm sorry," she said. I didn't respond. "I never meant for any of this to happen. It just, it got away from me." "It didn't get away from you. You made choices. Every single time." "I know." Her voice broke. "I know I did. But I love those kids. I love them so much." "Then you should have thought about that before you brought him into their home?" She flinched like I'd hit her. "They saw him?" "Once. Emma told me. You told them not to tell me." "Oh, God." She set down the box, covered her face with her hands. "I didn't. I thought they were at school. I would never. But you did. You risked them seeing. You risked them knowing. You put your affair above their stability." Linda appeared in the doorway. "Jessica, we need to go." Jessica picked up the box again, her hands shaking. At the door, she turned back one more time. "I'll fight this. The custody arrangement. I'm their mother." "Then get a better lawyer. Because mine has 8 weeks of security footage and a judge who's already seen what kind of mother you've been." She left without another word. The divorce took 11 months to finalize. Jessica fought the custody arrangement, but the evidence was overwhelming. The security footage, the financial records showing money spent on hotels and dinners, the testimony from Emma about seeing mom's work friend in the house, the cardiac monitor data that Dr. Patel explained in a deposition, describing how my body had registered threat responses every Tuesday for 2 months. Derek Palmer lost his job 3 days after I sent the HR complaint. The company's investigation had been swift and thorough. Apparently, he'd had complaints from other employees about inappropriate behavior that had been quietly settled. My documentation had been the final straw. Last I heard, he'd moved to Ohio and taken a position at a smaller firm. Jessica lost her job a month later. The company claimed it was a restructuring, but everyone knew the real reason. She'd violated policy, used company resources for personal matters, and created a liability nightmare. The house was awarded to me in the final settlement. Jessica got her equity share, but it was less than she'd hoped. The judge factored in the marital funds she'd spent on the affair. She moved into an apartment in Easton, 20 minutes away. The kids adjusted slowly. Emma started seeing a therapist, working through her anger and confusion. Tyler became quieter, more watchful, but he still played basketball in the driveway and asked me to help with his math homework. Every other weekend, they went to Jessica's apartment for supervised visits. After 6 months, the supervision requirement was dropped, but the kids never stayed overnight. Emma said the apartment felt wrong. Tyler just said he wanted to sleep in his own bed. 2 years later, I stood in the backyard watching Emma practice penalty kicks while Tyler tried to block them. The deck I'd been building the day everything fell apart was finally finished. It had taken me 18 months to find the motivation to complete it, but now it stood solid and level, with built-in benches and a pergola I'd added last summer. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, the woman I'd been seeing for 3 months. She was a teacher at Emma's school, divorced herself, with a teenage son. We'd met at a parent-teacher conference and started talking about custody schedules and the strange territory of dating after divorce. "Still on for dinner Friday?" "Absolutely," I typed back. "Dad," Emma called. "Did you see that? Top corner." "I saw it. That was perfect." She beamed, then lined up another shot. Tyler crouched in the goal, determined. I'd learned things in the past 2 years. That trust, once broken, took years to rebuild, if it ever fully did. That my kids were more resilient than I'd feared, but more fragile than I'd hoped. That being a single parent was exhausting and rewarding in measures I couldn't have imagined. That sometimes the worst thing that happens to you clears the path for something better. Jessica had remarried 8 months ago, not to Derek, but to someone she'd met online. She sent the kids photos of the wedding. Emma had looked at them politely and set them aside. Tyler had asked if he had to go to the wedding. I'd told him no. They saw their mother every other weekend, and sometimes on Wednesdays for dinner. The relationship was cordial but distant. Jessica had become someone they visited, not someone they lived with. She'd made that choice when she'd prioritized her affair over their stability. I'd made my choice too, to fight for them, to document everything, to refuse to let her rewrite history into something I could forgive. Some people would say I'd been vindictive, that I'd used the kids as weapons, that I should have tried counseling, should have given her another chance. Those people hadn't worn a heart monitor that recorded their body's panic every Tuesday at 2:47 p.m. while their wife committed adultery 2 floors below them. Hadn't watched security footage of a stranger walking through their home. Hadn't heard their 9-year-old daughter say she'd been told to keep secrets. I'd protected my kids. I'd protected myself. And I'd made sure Jessica faced consequences for her choices. That wasn't vindictive. That was justice. "Dad, come play," Tyler yelled. I set down my phone and jogged onto the grass. Emma passed me the ball, and I took a shot that Tyler blocked easily, his face lighting up with triumph. The evening sun slanted across the yard, warm and golden. Inside, dinner was in the oven. Nothing fancy, just chicken and vegetables, but it was ours. This life was ours. And it was enough. The truth about betrayal is that it doesn't just break trust, it breaks the story you've been telling yourself about your life. The person you thought you married, the family you thought you'd built, the future you thought you were working toward, all of it revealed as fiction. Some people choose to edit that story, to minimize the betrayal and preserve the relationship. They go to counseling. They forgive. They rebuild. But some betrayals are too fundamental, some lies too elaborate, some violations too complete. When your partner brings their affair into your home, when they look your children in the eye and tell them to keep secrets, when they spend months constructing an alternate reality while you live in ignorant trust, that's not a marriage that can be saved. That's a marriage that needs to end. I didn't destroy my family. Jessica did that when she made her first choice to betray us. I just refused to pretend otherwise. And in refusing to accept her version of events, in fighting for my kids and myself, I found something I hadn't expected. Clarity. Not happiness exactly, not at first, but the clean, sharp edges of truth after months of living in fog. My kids learned that actions have consequences, that lies eventually surface, that their father would fight for them when it mattered most. And I learned that the worst day of your life can also be the first day of something better, if you're willing to face the truth and act on it. The screenshot that changed everything didn't destroy my life. It revealed what my life had actually become. And it gave me the chance to build something real from the wreckage.